Hey guys, how we doing? Back on another video from Clyde. We watched the ranking the Espada from weakest to strongest, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good video, and I agreed with it. But like I said in the previous video, I know that he had this uploaded afterwards, and I wanted to know why, because I thought it was very clear why the ranking was done the way it was in the previous video. People have obviously gone, well, no, Ulquiorra is the strongest, so I think Clyde's now addressing that and going, well, was he? So, we're going to go into this, and, got a couple of drinks with me, it's 37 minutes long. I finally got time to record some long videos now. It's been hard. Let's get into this. Was Ulquiorra the strongest? Because I personally don't think it was. Oh, the music.
When it comes to the Espada rankings, there are 4 individuals among them that are incredibly contentious in terms of the actual scaling of power throughout this group, and has led to a lot of confusion among the Bleach fandom as to who was in fact the strongest Espada at the end of the Aizen saga.
So cool.
The characters in relation to this topic are Barragan, Stark, Yammy, and Ulquiorra. In discussion around these Espada, people seem to forget many things that happened in the series, like Ulquiorra having a hidden transformation, and this clearly makes him much stronger than just the sole rank of 4, which is displayed on his chest. We have Yammy being the rank of 0, which was a secret all along, which was also shown to us very clearly and said by Yammy himself, or many of the battles which took place and slapped into our faces what was happening, like a lot of the things to do with Ichigo and how Ulquiorra scales to his Vasto Lorde form. Yet, people still forget these events even happened, and even things like how Aizen stated he had pre-planned each fight among particular
everything was laid out so that he would get
Ichigo's
stronger.
Inner hollow, hinder the Soul Society's chances of winning the war, and to see what would become of someone who is a Shinigami, Hollow, and Quincy all in one. Though once again, people forget these very simple scenes which Tite Kubo had laid out for us all even happened. Ulquiorra's cipher is quite easy to scale among the series of Bleach, and as the thumbnail and title suggests, he will be the main focus of this video, as all of his battles in the series are very cut and dry, alongside databook statements and things said directly by characters in the series,
databook information,
alongside
I like it.
statements by the actual author. Most of what I will talk about in this video, frankly, doesn't even need to be explained, though I will anyway, to hopefully cement this video as the definitive scale of Ulquiorra's cipher in Bleach. So, let's clear up some of
Don't get me wrong, he's a cool character.
Used towards Ulquiorra, as I've never been the biggest fan of Ulquiorra. I personally always preferred Grimjaw.
Yeah, Grimjaw's cool, don't get me wrong, but he was a cool character.
Just used to downplay Ulquiorra in general, and some of the Espada is just downright So, I hope by doing so, this shows I have no bias towards Ulquiorra as a character, just merely a big issue with some of the people who talk about Bleach. Almost every single time someone brings this scene up, I almost have an aneurysm on the spot from how silly it is to use this, especially given the context of the scene itself. Ulquiorra says this after he tanks a fully holified Getsuga Tensho from Ichigo in base form, takes 0 damage from the attack, except for his clothing getting torn. He then fires a casual Zero, which almost kills Ichigo and Nel in one shot. Though it does knock out Kid Nel, Ulquiorra then chases both of them, followed by him kicking Ichigo into one of the concrete pillars with ease. Ichigo, although beaten very badly, doesn't give up, and Ulquiorra is shocked by this, to which Ichigo then states, "You're the leader of the Espadas, right? So if I beat you, this war's as good as won." Ulquiorra then follows up by showing him that he is only ranked number 4, and uses this to destroy Ichigo's willpower. He wants to humiliate him, and does this again during their later battles. For Ulquiorra to blurt out that he has a second release form there and then would not only be incredibly stupid, but he thought Ichigo's strength was mediocre, and for him to expose his second release form when there was zero need to, and he believes even Aizen doesn't know about the form, is once again stupid, and goes against him hiding it until later. What he said to Ichigo was clearly a lie. Now, Aizen definitely did know about Ulquiorra's second release form, as he is the one that bestowed the Espada with release states that were based on Shinigami powers using the Hogyoku, and in his monologue
if Ulquiorra believes that, he
Ulquiorra
doesn't know,
Ichigo,
he's going
it's
to keep it
shown
hidden.
Aizen has a mental image of the form, but he makes no comment about it being a surprise, further backing Aizen's statement that he anticipated the Vasto Lorde would fight Ulquiorra, and he even makes a statement about Ichigo being in the form. Although he hasn't seen the much stronger version of the Vasto Lorde that appears against Ulquiorra, even the version of Ichigo's inner hollow that fought Isshin in the flashback to show how Isshin actually met Masaki Kurosaki should be among some of the strongest Espada, even possibly stronger than all of them. Isshin being an exceptionally strong Shinigami, who as a royal actually has more spiritual pressure than a normal Shinigami. This would explain why he can tango with Aizen and tag him even in his Silver Surfer mode after having not used his Shinigami powers for such a long time. So far, there isn't much evidence to actually imply that Isshin is stronger than he was in the flashback, and once again, the version of the Hollow that he fought was actually weaker than the one that fought Ulquiorra, as it had not only become stronger after being in Ichigo for so long and developed, but it was also not even at full strength due to the fact that the Shihakusho it was wearing was half ripped, meaning its spiritual pressure wasn't even at max. You might say this is irrelevant, but in a lot of art where they actually show Ichigo's full hollow form, it is shown multiple times him wearing the full Bankai Shihakusho, and when he is actually training to reach his Dongai form so he can use the Mugetsu, once again the hollow appears wearing the full Shihakusho rather than half of one, meaning it is actually a thing, which is also clarified when Ichigo speaks to Anohana. Now, the royal statement that I actually made about Isshin before, in relation to his spiritual pressure and him not being some random Joe Blow captain, this would explain why, you know, he's so strong and is still able to fight against someone like Aizen, who is a bit of an anomaly in terms of soul strength, and also the fact that Isshin is relative to an Aizen who goes through Hogyoku transformations. I just really want to stress that the whole royal spiritual pressure thing is actually quite important, and this also explains why Byakuya was so strong against Yammy, and Ichigo could only blitz Byakuya in the Soul Society arc while in Bankai because he was being fed spiritual pressure by Zangetsu and the Hollow. If you actually doubt this and think that it's not true, Ulquiorra says that Ichigo's power fluctuates so much from the Hollow taking over his body that it even surpasses his own. So to argue against that would be very dumb, as when we see the Hollow actually take over against Byakuya, the difference in strength is insane. So hopefully that clears up some of the confusion as to why Byakuya goes from Soul Society Bankai Ichigo level to fighting against Somari, and then Yammy, and then so on and so forth. But as I said before about the whole Ulquiorra scene, where he claims that the Espada above him are stronger, and he's only rank 4, once again, the only reason
just
he
to
shows
mess around with
his
him.
second release in the second fight is to complete and utterly obliterate his confidence while showing him true despair, and that he was lying in the first encounter. This should go without saying, but the rankings are incredibly inconsistent among the series, and the rankings which were originally shown to us clearly don't exist because of Ulquiorra and Yammy. To put it as simple as possible, Ulquiorra's second release puts him far above someone like Hallibal. To argue against this is not only absolutely idiotic, but why would Taite Kubo place such an emphasis on the battle with Ichigo, where Ulquiorra says it is a secret form, clearly following up on the talk they had prior about the Espada above him. He is showing Ichigo this form to not only humiliate him and destroy his morale, but to show he is in fact stronger than the rank of 4. Of all the Espadas, only I have achieved a second stage release. This is consistent with his personality because he tried scaring Ichigo with the idea that the Espada above him were miles stronger than him. So he wanted to show Ichigo that level of power to his face, or something even greater. An interesting side note to add fuel to this is when Ulquiorra and Yammy first land in the world of the living. Ulquiorra states there are only 3 individuals that could actually give them a decent fight on the entire planet. Those 3 are Kisuke Urahara, Kurosaki Isshin, and Shihoen Yoruichi. Now, Ichigo you would assume is one of the 3 aforementioned individuals, but they were only there to actually see how strong Ichigo is, whereas they already had the pretense that the 3 they mentioned are a legitimate threat, whereas Ichigo they were unsure about. If you say replace Isshin or Yoruichi with Ichigo individually, then it's still a very good statement for Ulquiorra and Yammy. They're being scaled to characters like Yoruichi, Isshin, Ichigo, and Urahara. Now, of course, setting Ichigo aside, the other 3 are what makes the statement statement so impressive. Not only do the databooks state an interesting thing here, but so does Ulquiorra. He and the databooks claim that Yammy and himself were not in a position to be worried even after Urahara and Yoruichi arrived. In fact, Ulquiorra seems so confident in his ability to actually fight Urahara and Yoruichi, as he not only blocks an attack with one hand,
well, yeah,
while the other is in his pocket, and
yeah,
slaps it away,
I love
which
that.
neutralized Yami's
Hand in
previous
pocket,
fight,
bam.
Zero, and this one was intended to most likely kill him. He then replies to Yoruichi's statement about them, quote, running away, and tells her to not get cocky, as she knows what would happen if they were to actually fight. Now, a lot of you would say straight away, what about the fact that Yammy took damage from Ichigo, who was only in Bankai at the time? Well, there's two issues here, and that's the fact that according to Ulquiorra's words, Yammy at this stage in the story wouldn't have a chance against Urahara and Yoruichi, which is great because later on he does get stronger, which also so does Ulquiorra. Another thing that Ulquiorra also says is that Yammy is quite a novice when it comes to using Pesquisa and Sonido. A lot of people don't know this, but Pesquisa is not just used for being able to react to attacks as Ulquiorra uses it against the Vasto Lorde, but it's also used to gauge how strong enemies' strength is, something of which Yammy
like a
sensory
to
do. To explain this as quick as possible, the reason Yammy had his arm cut off by this Ichigo who was only in Bankai was because of his lack of ability with Pesquisa. He was not only unable to gauge Ichigo's attack potency and level of spiritual pressure, but this resulted in him not defending himself correctly.
Right, yeah, it makes sense, yeah, so he doesn't know how to go up against that attack because he can't sense how strong it is.
Ulquiorra even says that Yammy should have analysed the situation more before engaging Ichigo, and that he should have perfected his
so he could have actually handled the situation.
He actually is, therefore he could have avoided or blocked
the
attack correctly. The Pesquisa being something of which I will talk about a bit later on. Now, although this version of Yammy isn't very impressive, Yoruichi badly damages herself from actually hitting him multiple times, something the databooks put a lot of stress towards, alongside even her, who says that she should have used her Shunko form to actually hit him, therefore she probably wouldn't have taken so much damage, but even still, pretty crazy.
Taking damage from hitting someone is like, wow, they are strong.
He wasn't even defending himself correctly. The point I'm trying to make here is that it's very clear how strong Taite Kubo was implying these two to be, and it's obvious why Aizen has these two as a pair. Not only are they the two secret strongest Espada by rank, and they have secret release forms, but if Ulquiorra and Yammy scale to the Vasto Lorde, which at this stage should be much stronger than an Ishin, who was arguably weaker than when he fought the original weaker version of the Hollow, the same Ishin that can fight Aizen and tag him in his Hogyoku release forms, then this puts Ulquiorra and Yammy not only above the Espada, but in this echelon of fighters in the series. Aizen actually states that he was expecting Ichigo to be even stronger than he was when he appeared, and this would imply that the Hollow is something that could possibly contest him. Remember, one of the plot points for Aizen was that he was hopefully looking for someone to defeat him in battle. Ichigo clarifies this because he can feel sadness from crossing blades with him, and it seems that Aizen all along just wanted a competitive fight. And if you still doubt that Aizen narrative point, Aizen was already aware of how strong the original Vasto Lorde was, and he was expecting it to evolve over time, which he was fully aware of, and the same goes with the Espada and others. We've been shown countless times that people do get stronger as they go through many fights. So once again, Aizen is completely aware of the Vasto Lorde's power and what it could actually end up being in terms of strength, and considering that he is the one that gave all the powers to the Espada and he knows how strong they are individually, you guys should be able to put two and two together. Now, as a follow-up to what Ulquiorra said about him currently not being as strong as he should be at that point in the story, we know for a fact that Yammy actually increases in power and size, as noted by Chad and the others when he fights against them, and Grimmjow and Urahara actually state that you can get boosts in power after every fight that you partake in, like
Zenkai boosts, right, cool. There we go. I was going to say that, I was going to use that as an example, that's cool.
Because at the very start of the series, it said that normal Vasto Lorde, who haven't even been given upgrades by Aizen, are so much of a threat that they can surpass captains in power, and due to Ulquiorra and Yammy being special cases who are light years above just the normal everyday Vasto Lorde that you may run into in Waco Mundo, you see what I'm getting here. They are much stronger than they actually are. The other reason why the rankings are not consistent at all is, well, yeah, Yammy and his zero rank exists. That's all I really need to say about that. So, a lot of people like the idea that Barragan would clap any Espada in a one-on-one fight, even if they are above him in rank. Solely because of his Respira ability, which ages anything from objects, flesh, to even energy-based attacks like Keto and Hado. Now, here's the issue. If the ability was in fact that deadly, Barragan Barragan would absolutely be ranked number 1 among the Espada, because unlike the Quincy's, who have a lot of very hacks and intricate abilities, the Espadas don't really have that many counter abilities or hacks type abilities compared to even Barragan or the Quincy's. You know, on average, they tend to be very cut and dry, physical-based attack characters. You could follow up by saying, well, he's probably just slower than Stark, so Stark wins in that regard in the rankings, or Stark has more spiritual pressure, which is not only stated, but backed up in the data books when it states that he can fire infinite Ceros, and
which is
also
amazing.
he is given a statement in the data books which clarify that he actually has one of the fastest Sonitos in base, where Stark actually Sonitos from one of the towers in Los Noches all the way down to where Ichigo and Kenpachi are. He steals Orihime, flashes out of the way of both of them swinging at him at the same time, and is able to Sonito his way all the way to a distance which is comparable from going to Montreal to New York in the snap of a finger.
Right?
But Stark's speed and spiritual pressure shouldn't even be a factor, because Barragan can slow down his opponent's attacks, age them, and his ability would be by default more useful than a man who can just sling Ceros all day, compared to an ability which once again can age literally anything. Many people assume that Barragan was given the rank 2 over 1, which is kind of weird because he was the previous, quote, king of Hueco Mundo, meaning that wouldn't he already be the strongest by default?
Yeah, you'd think.
And, you know, Aizen and him had beef, and Aizen did this to hurt his pride. Well, sadly, this is never once touched upon in the story, other than the fact that Barragan really dislikes him for taking Hueco Mundo from him. One thing that is actually touched upon, however, is the way that spiritual pressure and abilities actually function among the series.
A Soul Reaper battle involves spirit energy. I can easily overwhelm your silly power by accessing my own spirit energy.
If the Espada are based off of Shinigami, as Urahara stated, and they not only transform but fight exactly as Shinigami do, we can assume they also operate with spiritual pressure the same way as Shinigami do too. Meaning characters like Stark, Ulquiorra, and Yammy could all negate Barragan's aging ability with their spiritual pressure by default. Udiu notes that Ulquiorra's second release spiritual pressure is so heavy and dark that it feels like it's alien, as if it's not even a power that's from the reality that he lives in. Now, going back to the Aizen scene, if Aizen can do this to Soifon, who has a death hacks ability, and the same rules apply to Espadas, then this Barragan would be dealt with kind of easy when it comes to Espada who are ranked above him, or have more spiritual pressure than him. Or if you use Ulquiorra as an example, he is so much faster and has more destructive capability than Barragan that he could move faster than the Respira ability, and he could stand very far away and spam Lanzadel Relampagos at him until he dies. As those attacks make Soifon's Bankai look like a firecracker in comparison, and the attack potency of the Lanzadel Relampago would be monstrously higher. Geen also basically confirms word for word that the Espada don't follow Aizen because of his hypnosis ability, but because he would absolutely destroy them with raw power. If Barragan's ability was that dangerous, why didn't he just destroy everything around him and keep Aizen away from him? It's very clear why, because the ability can be negated by higher spiritual pressure. I usually don't like to use the Aizen statement about the spiritual pressure stuff, because I'm a little bit skeptical that that was even Aizen that was hit by the Suzume Bachi, because when he makes that statement, it turns out that his body is standing on the other side of the city, and it just seems silly for him to even risk getting hit by that attack, but that's just a bit of skepticism. Regardless, it doesn't contradict what I just said anyway, because Geen confirms all the stuff that I just said. An interesting thing I want to spend time in this video talking about that many people don't actually know about is the two aspects of power that Zombari and Nnoitra have alongside Ulquiorra. These are special abilities that certain individual Espada actually have, which the others can't use. Something which was prevalent in the earlier episodes and chapters of Bleach, where Hollows were like stands and had individual powers. Grand Fisher could shape his ability into a projection of people he had killed in the past, therefore he was able to show Ichigo his mother. Shrieker had homing minions that could explode from an audio signal emitted by his tongue, and Ardenierro could shapeshift into Hollows or people he killed and use their powers to a T, as confirmed by the databooks. Zombari's specialty was not only his incredibly hacks eye ability in his release state, but he claimed to have the fastest Soneto of all Espada, something which the databooks also confirm. and Nnoitra was listed as having the hardest hero of all Espada. Now, this should be pretty clear, but Ulquiorra far surpasses Zombari in speed because this ability only applies to their base forms, another thing that a lot of people don't actually understand.
Hermelo Sonido. Among all the Espadas, my Sonido is the fastest.
Zombari's speed does not seem to actually increase in his release date, or even to a notable degree at all, and Nnoitra's hero doesn't increase in durability when he goes into his release form. Kenpachi actually never notes his skin getting tougher, just that he now has to cut off more of his arms, and this is somewhat annoying, whereas Ulquiorra's speed after going into Resurrection drastically increases alongside his defense and attack potency. When Ulquiorra goes into his first Resurrection, he is able to completely blitz Ichigo to the point where he can throw a lance, and within the span of Ichigo's neurons firing and his eyes perceive the attack, and he is able to slightly move his head just the right amount to avoid the lance by a hair. A second lance is then thrown within that time span.
Crazy. That is crazy.
He actually asks Ichigo to fire a fully holified Getsuga Tensho at him, and this Ichigo has gotten considerably stronger after his battle with Grimmjow, and the Zenkai statement I mentioned earlier, which Grimmjow makes a note of. Yet Ulquiorra is able to completely take the attack head-on with his spiritual pressure alone, and it never even touches him. Another compliment to Ulquiorra's speed is that Nnoitra thinks Ichigo and Bankai, while he is almost dead after fighting Grimmjow, is actually a threat to him. Yet Ulquiorra takes a steaming on his speed and base form, and this Ichigo is once again much stronger and is 5 through 10 times faster than he was against Nnoitra, if not more, because he is healed and holified, all thanks to the Zenkai boost. Now, Nel and Kenpachi also don't help Noitora's case of having the quote hardest hero beyond his base form, because he claimed no one could cut him, but was blitzed by a Nel who
just
was
like, no one can cut me. Ow! You cut
most
me!
likely the rank of around 5 in strength, as she was not only surpassed by the other Espada around her rank when it comes to power due to the time skip, but she is also fighting at what could be considered half her strength, or maybe some random percentage like 70/80. It's pretty hard to quantify because her mask was cracked and leaking spiritual pressure throughout the entire fight with Nnoitra. At full strength without being injured, she might be the rank of 4 in power, meaning she only drops 1 number in rank during the time between when Nnoitra cracked her mask and the time she spent as a toddler. But that seems to be a highball because Nnoitra complimented Bankai Ichigo's speed, who was almost dead at the time and had basically no spiritual pressure, yet he still defended multiple attacks from Nnoitra intended to kill him, alongside being able to outspeed Nnoitra. And Ulquiorra in his base form can outspeed a healed, fully holified Ichigo. Also to mention, if you want to use Kenpachi, that doesn't work because you can't even quantify how strong he is at this point in the story when it comes to the fight between him and Nnoitra, because his power fluctuates from getting tagged and hurt way more than even Nel did against Nnoitra to being second release Yammy level, and in the words of Unohana, he was holding himself back considerably, possibly even to a fully healed Bankai Ichigo level, which would be
did he want to win? Did he not want to win?
Given the times
Kenpachi's a bastard to like try and
Shikai Ichigo
figure out.
That appeared on Sokyoku Hill, went Bankai, and now has a Bankai which is even stronger than that Bankai which was used in the Byakuya fight, and he also has a holification which is stronger than that, and while he was fatigued and only in Bankai, he impressed Nnoitra. So not only does that sort of put the nail in the coffin with the idea that Nel is around the rank of 4, she seems to be more around the rank of 5-ish in power, especially because she's not at full power, but all of those multipliers and how much the Kenpachi's holding himself back just really don't help the case of her being stronger than that. She has to be around the rank of 5. And all it took for Kenpachi to basically defeat Nnoitra was him placing his
second hand on his
sword, and he almost killed him in 1 blow. Once more,
I must hold
him
this
back considerably
with 2 hands.
Fight.
You're dead.
Something pretty cool about Ulquiorra is that he could have actually been much stronger than he was in the story, but he chose to discard some of his spiritual pressure for his healing factor, which personally, I think he should have just put that spiritual pressure into his strength, because it would have most likely made him around Vasto Lorde Ichigo level, and basically no one in the series, except the higher tiers, would have been able to even cut him. So what's the use in healing when you can just never get injured in the first place?
Just like...
Prevention is better than a cure, as they say. And this is just further
that
evidence
does make
to show
sense.
that
Like, come on.
was destined for greater feats than the others. But I guess
why need to heal
being able to heal
when you
everything
don't need
except
to heal?
your brain and internal organs is kinda cool, and it does give him this weird eye ability where he can pull out his eye, crush it, and it allows him to project events that he's previously seen so others can view them. A few years back, Tite Kubo actually stated that in the Hellverse movie, the animation and retelling of the fight, which was shown at the start of the movie between Ulquiorra and Vasto Lorde Ichigo, was actually how he imagined the fight more than the way that he was able to draw it in the manga, or how the anime version showcased the fight, which is great to hear because Tite Kubo
he's more involved with that movie than any other one, wasn't he?
That he was so rushed during weekly chapters by Shonen Jump to meet deadlines that some weeks he was just happy to get a chapter, meaning even during such an important fight in the manga, he didn't even get to draw it in the complete way he wanted, which is once again great to hear in this instance, because if the movie version of the fight is more true to how he wanted in his head, it further backs that Tite Kubo made Ulquiorra much stronger than he actually is by rank, and this isn't just skepticism as a fan.
Because God, they cause so much destruction.
Ulquiorra is able to tag the Hollow and fight much more competitively, thus being a huge compliment to his speed, and the fact that the Vasto Lorde actually dodges his attacks multiple times means Ulquiorra can hurt him, and actually does in the movie. In short, not only can Ulquiorra break out of pocket dimensions which were made by Aizen to seal Espada who have gone loose or rogue, while he is in his base form, a feat which is later hyped up when Ichigo does it in Yukio's pocket dimension. Now, I'm not scaling Ulquiorra to that Ichigo, but it's still a cool feat nonetheless, and Grimmjow not only complements Ulquiorra's power and how fast he will be able to break out of that Kaha Negation, but he also uses the Kaha Negation on Ulquiorra out of fear to actually have to fight him. A quick compliment to Grimmjow, he does tank one of Ulquiorra's Ceros, but in the process of doing that, he almost loses his arm.
Yeah, like
now,
God.
A lot of people are going to say, how is Ulquiorra above Yammy when the databooks state Yammy is the strongest Espada and he doesn't react to Ulquiorra's second release form, whereas everybody else below the canopy does? Plus, you yourself did say that Yammy is the strongest. Well, it's absolutely true that Yammy is stronger than Ulquiorra, but the problem with Yammy is that he is a glass cannon and is also incredibly bad at perceiving enemy spiritual
anything
pressure,
else, he
alongside
can't.
the fact that he is incredibly low in the intelligence department and is slow as hell. You'll notice throughout the series he continuously asks Ulquiorra multiple times how strong opponents are when they're facing off against them, and has borderline no ability to actually gauge an opponent's strength, as I said earlier.
He can't do it.
Ulquiorra tells him he needs to master his Pesquisa, but he doesn't. This would explain why Yammy couldn't perceive Ulquiorra's second release form's full power, or even the Vasto Lorde, which was above the canopy of Las Noches fighting Ulquiorra. He doesn't even react to it, and also treats Kenpachi as if he is just some random Joe Blow Shinigami, like he doesn't realize how strong this guy is. Normally, I'd take his statement about him referring to Ulquiorra, Grimmjow, and the others as trash a little bit more direct, but not when you account for these facts. He can't even read Ulquiorra's level of power, a form which even he doesn't know about. People would usually assume he doesn't react because it doesn't impress him, but it's actually because he can't even comprehend Ulquiorra's power. The reason I am putting such an emphasis on this is because Ulquiorra might be able to actually tank Yami's Ceros and Balas even if he's in his second release monkey form, as Ulquiorra takes a Cero which was meant to kill him directly to his body while he is expecting the attack to kill him, and he asks the Vasto Lorde to finish him off with this said attack, meaning he isn't even defending himself with his spiritual pressure, yet he still survives it, regenerates as much of his body as he can, then he Sonitos over to where the Vasto Lorde is while he's behind him, cuts off the Hollow's mask, saving Uryu and Orihime. Not only is Yammy considerably slower than Ulquiorra, but he would never hit him with any of his attacks, and in truth, truth, he might not even be able to damage Ulquiorra. I want to stress this once more, but Espadas can make their heroes stronger based on how much spiritual pressure they place into their defense. We have seen a few times that Yammy is incredibly bad at this and his ability to use Pesquisa, and has been cut by enemies that he shouldn't be cut by. This would explain why, although he has the strongest spiritual pressure and the most firepower, why is it that he has trouble making his heroes stronger than Nnoitra's is, whereas Ulquiorra can do it quite casually when he goes into his first and second release. Yammy could barely catch Rukia, Renji, and Chad. Then when Kenpachi and Byakuya appeared, they made him look like an absolute idiot, and he was just pretty much blasting big Zero attacks that never hit any of them.
No,
and then even
like,
when he
he's got the strength
release,
and the power, but he can't use it.
Times stronger than his base form, he gets off-screened. Like, just consider that, he gets off-screened. You can give Yammy some credit for fighting Ichigo, but that Ichigo is still miles weaker than second release Ulquiorra, as he has only half a Shihakusho on. His mask doesn't even work correctly, and in the words of Ichigo, feels heavier. And for Ichigo to get over 100 times increase in power after that fight while he has half a Shihakusho on and he can barely fight correctly is very silly. I have seen people claim that he's stronger than the Vasto Lorde afterwards, but that just makes no sense. Though even still, when Yammy fights him, the only attacks that he can connect Ichigo with are actually Balas, which are 20 times faster than normal Zeros, and surpass his own combat speed. And even still, Ichigo is only caught due to his mask not working correctly, and he isn't at full strength. If Ulquiorra fought Yammy, he would not only blitz Yammy in his first and second release form, but he could atomize his body with his Seto Oscuras, which can multiply his attack potency by an order of magnitude, which can be around 5 through 10 plus times in power, and if that doesn't work, he has the Lanza del Relampago, which is even stronger than the Seto Oscuras. And in his fight with the Vasto Lorde, he uses the Lanza del Relampago after his Seto Oscuras is cancelled out by the Vasto Lorde's normal Zeros. Now, I want to clarify something very quickly about the Vasto Lorde. The Vasto Lorde was not only not at full power because of the half Shihakusho that it was wearing, but in the battle, it never used a Granrei Zero, King's Granrei Zero, or any sort of Zero that is similar to Ulquiorra's Seto Oscuras. Whereas, let's say for example that the Seto Oscuras is a ability for Ulquiorra only, which so far it actually is. He is the only one with a Zero that can have its own multiplier. He is the only Hollow with a Zero that has its own multiplier that improves his power by an order of magnitude. Even still, we get to see that the Vasto Lorde wasn't even at full power. Like, no Granrei Zero, which would have an increase of its own, and the Shihakusho is ripped, just to clarify. So even if Yammy has more attack power, Ulquiorra blitzes him in speed, and has attacks that can multiply his own strength, and can close the gap and then surpass Yammy in strength. You can also say, well, Yammy would just get stronger as the fight progresses, and he would fight like the Hulk does, so over time he would eventually surpass Ulquiorra in power. If it was that easy, why didn't he just do that to Kenpachi and Byakuya?
Yeah.
As for Ulquiorra's destructive capability,
if that was the case,
scales to the Vasto Lorde, which you can get to planet level with calc stacking, multipliers, and wank, but it's confirmed in the Hellverse movie around 3 different times that it is a threat to the world, could destroy the planet, was even hyped up by Yamamoto, someone who, while suppressed, is casually planet level even while he's not at full power, and covered multiple layers of hell with a Zero Blast, which should be by default multi-planetary. Now,
how big hell is
at least planetary, because not only does his Zero negate the Vasto Lorde Zeros, and vice versa, they have a very back and forth battle, but his Lanza del Relampago is even stronger than the Zeros that he uses to clash with the Vasto Lorde Zeros by quite a lot. The same Lanza del Relampago that dwarfs Los Noches in size, a place where Ulquiorra, merely by going first release, would destroy it without purposely doing so. And the inside of Los Noches is actually a pocket dimension which is so large that it has its own curvature on the inside and a light source from an artificial sun. This is a fact that a lot of people completely don't realize, and instead scale the Espada and their attack potency to the outside of Los Noches, which is smaller than the inside due to the things I mentioned and are displayed. Usually a lot of people actually scale the outside of the castle to being anywhere anywhere from large city level to close to the size of some countries. So the inside being the size that I just said is not only true, but it actually makes the Espada look way more impressive than they were previously believed to be. Another cool little fact among the series is that Shikai Ichigo was told to be careful with his spiritual pressure by Shinji, as it could be felt across the entire planet and would most likely alert hollows which are hanging around in pocket dimensions around the world. Now, I'm not saying Shikai Ichigo is planetary, please don't interpret what I just said in that sense, but the fact that he can affect things with his spiritual pressure that far away, he blocked the Sokyoku, which has the power of around 3 million Zanpakuto, was said to be able to destroy the Soul Society, a direct reflection of Earth, and can overwhelm all things in existence with its spiritual pressure. And it would actually need to be that strong anyway to execute most high-level threats in the Bleach universe on the podium, because when you think about it logically, they've been dealing with threats like Yuha and captains who surpass even some of the current captains back in those days, so it's not very far-fetched to assume that those feats are quite consistent. A lot of people would say, well, the Aizen letter is actually fake, but why would the feat about it being able to destroy the Soul Society be a lie, because the others never contest that?
No
like the captain seemed to be
they're all like,
surprised when Ichigo blocks it, so
true,
to just claim that that little detail in the letter is a lie, it just seems silly, because the feat isn't inconsistent. It's just a little detail that Aizen adds to his note. I don't think that deserves it being discredited. If he was to say that the sky is blue in his note, does that mean that it's a lie?
Wrong?
No.
How dare you?
Ulquiorra is easily 1,000 times stronger than that Ichigo in second release due to the multipliers he gets in his release forms. If you want to lowball it to 100 times, really doesn't make much of a difference, but it just means that Ulquiorra is bare minimum. I'm not going to wank him to like galaxy level or some insane thing like that,
yeah,
but he is just bare minimum planet level. Like, there's a lot of evidence to imply it, and it's pretty consistent, especially with all the evidence I provided. I think I've been very thorough with this, not to mention he's also massively FTL, something of which I've talked about in previous videos, but most characters in the series are anyway, so it's not really worth mentioning. It's just a cool note in terms of speed. He's very fast. Ulquiorra is without a doubt the strongest Espada pre-time skip, and this is exactly why he was
there we are. Right, I was just wondering, it's like, wait, no.
More than any Espada. It's very clear
so at
that
the time,
particular power-ups by not only Aizen,
I'm on
but
board now.
And was used
I was watching this like, wait, what?
particular plot device for a reason. Aizen
Fair
knew
enough.
that he would have to fight the Vasto Lorde, and in the words of Ulquiorra, to Aizen, this is all a game.
Right, so... Because I was like, wait, no, yeah, he's as strong, but he's not the strongest. But at the time, and I agree with that, I'm on board with that. Because the ranking the Espada thing was like, included the whole duration of Bleach and the manga and everything, like after when the anime finished. And I'm just like, I wish he kind of mentioned that at the start. Because I'm just like, okay, but time skip at the time where all that was going on, totally on board with that. Ulquiorra was definitely the strongest because Grimmjow had no chance against him at that time. Right, fair enough. Wow, okay, cool. That was a very good video. It went so in depth on that. Like, I love how much like attention he pays to everything. Well, that was a good video. I feel dumb, but I don't because it wasn't explained at the start, was it? Am I being an idiot? But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys, yes, all of you guys, next time.